Chosen ones take a deep breath and sense the energy around you. There's a spark in the air, isn't there? A quiet nudge in your spirit whispering that something extraordinary is about to unfold. You didn't just stumble across this video by accident. No, you were drawn here guided by a divine pull. The bold 9999 blazing on the thumbnail grabbed your attention, didn't it? In Christian life, 999 carries profound meaning, often symbolizing the completion of a divine cycle, the fullness of God's purpose, and the transition into a season where His promises manifest with finality and power. Your presence here is no coincidence. It's a sacred moment to embrace the truth that God has set you apart, and it's stirring jealousy in those who can't handle your shine. Why are you watching this right now? Is your heart already feeling the weight of others' envy, the sting of their resentment as you step into your calling? Have you sensed the cold glances, the subtle jabs, or the unspoken frustration from those unsettled by your rise? Before we dive into why their anger is really about you, if this resonates, comment 999 below, along with your city or country to declare, "I'm stepping into God's divine purpose for me." Like this video to amplify the truth. Subscribe to join a community of chosen ones embracing their God-given destiny. Your engagement is a bold yes to heaven's plan. The reason people are mad and jealous is about to be revealed. Step into it now. Their anger is not random. It's a confession. When people lash out at you for no clear reason, they're not just having a bad day. They're giving you an unfiltered confession. You've hit a nerve they were desperate to keep hidden. Their reaction isn't random. It's deeply personal. It's almost as if you've stumbled into a locked room in their mind where they keep all the insecurities, regrets, and disappointments they don't want anyone to see. Without even trying, you've touched something sensitive, and now they have to decide, face it or attack the one who triggered it. Most people choose the second option because it's easier to throw shade than deal with their own shadows. The trigger you've sparked often has little to do with your words or actions. It's about who you are, your self-assurance, your ability to bounce back, your refusal to shrink into insignificance. These qualities force them to confront what they lack the courage to become. To them, you're not just another face in the crowd. You're a mirror reflecting not the polished facade they show the world, but the raw truth they hide from themselves. To an unprepared heart, truth feels like a personal assault. That's why some smile to your face, but clench their jaws when you turn away. It's why certain individuals can't bear your presence for long. Your very being strips away their ability to hide behind excuses. Without saying a word, your victories, your calm under pressure, your refusal to be broken by circumstances that would have crushed them, it all silently reveals their inner contradictions. Here's the twist. The nerve you hit usually has nothing to do with what you said or did. It's who you are. Your confidence, your resilience, your refusal to play small, it makes them painfully aware of what they wish they had the courage to be. To them, you're not just another person in the room, you're a mirror. But unlike a regular mirror, you don't reflect the image they've carefully curated for the world. You reflect the truth they avoid in private, and truth to an unprepared heart feels like an attack. This is why someone can smile at you in public, but grit their teeth the second your back is turned. It's why certain people can't stand being in your presence for too long. You strip away their ability to hide behind excuses. You don't even need to say a word. Your wins, your composure under pressure, your refusal to be broken by situations that would have shattered them. It all quietly exposes their inner contradictions. That's why the anger feels so disproportionate. You're wondering, what did I do, while they're thinking, how dare they remind me of what I could have been? You're not fighting over the surface level issue they pretend to be mad about. You're clashing over the unspoken truth they wish you didn't carry so effortlessly. Here's where it gets even more telling. The stronger their reaction, the deeper the truth you've revealed about them. People rarely show that kind of emotional investment in someone who doesn't matter. If they're this mad, it's because you've already struck gold, and it's buried in the very place they don't want anyone digging. Envy operates as a silent admission cloaked in disguise. Rarely will people openly confess their jealousy. Instead, they conceal it with biting sarcasm, veiled compliments, sudden aloofness, or exaggerated efforts to minimize your accomplishments. But look closely and you'll see jealousy for what it is, an acknowledgement of your worth. It's their unspoken way of saying, you possess something I crave, and it gnaws at me that I lack it. That something isn't always tangible. It might be the life you've crafted, the victories you've earned, or the opportunities you've seized. More often, though, it's the intangible qualities, your unwavering confidence, your ability to recover from setbacks, the natural authority in your voice, or the serene calm you maintain amid chaos. These traits are magnetic, impossible to replicate without the inner work they haven't yet done. Jealousy is their recognition in disguise. Jealousy has a strange way of telling the truth without saying a word. When people are jealous of you, they won't always come out and admit it. In fact, most will go out of their way to disguise it. They'll mask it with sarcasm, backhanded compliments, sudden coldness, or an over-the-top attempt to downplay your achievements. But if you look closely, jealousy is simply recognition wearing a disguise. It's their way of admitting, you have something I want, and it bothers me that I don't have it. The something they envy isn't always material. Sure, it could be the life you've built, the success you've earned, or the doors that have opened for you. But more often than not, it's something intangible. The kind of thing you can't buy and they can't fake. It could be your self-assurance, the way you bounce back after setbacks, the natural authority you carry when you speak, or the quiet peace you have even in chaos. These qualities are magnetic, and they can't be copied by someone who hasn't done the internal work to build them. That's why jealousy stings so much. It's the gap between what they see in you and what they feel in themselves. What makes this even more intense is that your strengths often shine a light on their weaknesses without you even trying. If you walk into a room radiating confidence, the person still battling crippling self-doubt will feel it instantly. If you handle problems calmly, the person who spirals over small challenges will notice. If you live authentically, those still hiding behind masks will see in you a freedom they secretly crave. That silent recognition turns into gnawing irritation because your existence becomes proof that their excuses are just that, excuses. This is why jealousy is rarely about you doing anything wrong. It's about you being a living reminder of what they wish they could be. That's a hard pill for some to swallow. So instead of learning from you, they'd rather resent you. The irony is, their jealousy is actually a form of respect they're too prideful to show. It means they've seen your value, even if they'll never put it into words. Whether they like it or not, they've already acknowledged that you're ahead of the game because you have something they can't ignore. The envy they harbor isn't truly about the possessions you own, your car, house, career, or lifestyle. More often, it's your capacity to navigate life with such authenticity that they covet. It's your ability to face challenges with unwavering resolve, to make decisions without buckling under pressure, to move forward while staying true to yourself. They can't fathom how you do it because it's a skill they haven't mastered. Some who have more material wealth than you still resent your joy. Why? Because happiness doesn't come from accumulating more. It stems from knowing who you are and guarding that identity against life's assaults. Many have wealth, but lack peace, influence, but no true joy. You may not match their resume, but you possess something rarer, the ability to preserve your spirit, no matter what life hurls your way. They don't envy your life. They envy your ability to live it. People often assume jealousy is about what you own: the car, the house, the career, the lifestyle. But most of the time, it's not about those things at all. What they really envy is your ability to live your life the way you do. It's the fact that you can walk through challenges with your head high, make decisions without crumbling under pressure, and keep moving forward without losing your sense of self. That's the part they can't wrap their heads around because it's the part they haven't been able to master for themselves. There are people who have more than you materially, yet still can't stand to see you happy. Why? Because happiness is not a byproduct of having more. It's the result of knowing who you are and refusing to let life strip that away. Some people have money but no peace. Others have influence but no genuine joy. You might not have what they have on paper, but you possess something far rarer. The ability to keep your soul intact no matter what life throws at you. This is why your resilience feels threatening to them. They've been taught that life should break you when it's hard, yet you've proven that it doesn't have to. You've walked through seasons that would have left them bitter, but instead you came out wiser and more grounded. To them, that's almost unnatural. It challenges the stories they tell themselves about why they can't change or why they can't rise above certain situations. They may try to downplay your achievements or act like your life isn't impressive, but deep down they know it's not about the things you've collected. It's about the person you've become. That's the part they can't buy, fake, or borrow. Your strength, your perspective, your emotional stability. Those are the real treasures. They're the reason you can smile in storms. Find solutions where others see dead ends and keep your identity intact when the world tries to pull it apart. That's why the jealousy runs deep. You're living proof that peace, confidence, and strength are possible without needing every condition to be perfect. For someone who still believes they need the world to change before they can be happy, that's the most confronting truth they'll ever face. Your presence alone stirs unease because it reminds others of the paths they didn't take. It's not always envy in the classic sense. It's regret masked as frustration when they see you thriving, taking courageous steps, or living the reality you built through grit and determination. They're forced to face a hard truth. Those same possibilities might have been within their reach, but they didn't act. That's a tough reflection to confront. They might blame external factors, timing, circumstances, or others, but deep down they know the real reason they didn't seize the moment. Fear held them back, or pride convinced them the opportunity wasn't worth it. Now you stand as undeniable evidence of what could have been had they embraced the unknown. Your very existence highlights their missed opportunities. There's a certain discomfort people feel when your presence reminds them of the life they could have lived and didn't. It's not always about envy in the traditional sense. It's about regret disguised as irritation. Every time they see you thriving, taking bold steps, or walking in a reality you built from risk and persistence, they're forced to confront the truth. Those same opportunities might have been available to them, but they chose not to act. That's a heavy mirror to look into. Because while they might blame circumstances, timing, or other people, deep down, they know the real reason. They didn't move. They didn't take the leap when the moment came. They let fear talk them out of trying, or pride convince them that the opportunity wasn't worth it. Now you're the living, breathing proof of what could have happened if they had been willing to face the unknown. What makes this sting even more is that your wins make their what-if questions impossible to silence. Without you, they could tell themselves that chasing certain dreams wouldn't have worked out anyway. But when you're standing right there, living proof of success, that illusion shatters. You've removed their excuse. Instead of being inspired, some people choose resentment because it's easier to be angry at you than to admit they let their own moment pass. You didn't intend to become their reminder. You were just living your life, making choices that aligned with who you are. But to them, every achievement of yours feels like a personal spotlight on their inaction. Every risk you took that paid off becomes a quiet accusation, not from you, but from their own conscience. That's why they may keep their distance, downplay your progress, or pretend not to notice your growth. It's a self-protective move. If they avoid you, they can avoid the truth you represent. But the fact remains, your very existence exposes the difference between living boldly and living safely. While some will eventually use that truth as motivation to change their own story, others will stay stuck nursing a bitterness that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the life they could have had if they had chosen courage over comfort. Your liberty fuels their resentment. People claim to crave freedom, but seeing someone truly embody it can be jarring. When you make choices without seeking the approval of others, you expose the invisible chains binding them to the expectations of family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers. They may boast about independence, but in truth, they're tethered to external opinions. Your freedom forces them to confront their own constraints, a reality they'd rather avoid. Their bitterness is fueled by your freedom. Freedom is one of those things people claim to want until they see someone actually living it. When you make choices without running them through the filter of public approval, you reveal just how trapped some people really are. They might talk a big game about independence and living life on their own terms, but the truth is, they're still quietly enslaved to the opinions of family, friends, co-workers, and even strangers. Your freedom forces them to see their chains, and that's a reality many would rather not face. The bitter edge in their tone isn't always about disagreeing with your choices. It's about the fact that you had the courage to make them without seeking validation. You wear clothes you actually like, not just what's trending. You speak your mind without waiting for someone to nod in approval first. You take risks that make sense to you, even if the crowd thinks they're insane. You live a life that matches your internal compass, not the rule book society handed you. Because they've been trained to believe that every move must be justified to the collective, your unshackled approach feels almost rebellious. The irony is that your freedom doesn't harm them in any way. In fact, it could inspire them. But for someone still in the cage watching another bird fly is a tormenting sight. They're not mad because you're doing something wrong. They're mad because you're doing something they wish they could. Your life makes it harder for them to cling to the illusion that external approval is the ultimate measure of worth. What's more, your freedom removes one of their favorite excuses they can't tell themselves. No one can do that when you've already done it. They can't pretend the crowd's opinion is an unbreakable law when you've already ignored it and succeeded anyway. That truth disrupts their comfort zone. In many cases, people will resent anyone who forces them to rethink their entire way of living. Their bitterness isn't really about you breaking rules. It's about you proving that the rules were never real to begin with. Once someone realizes that they either have to change their life or live with the knowledge that they've been holding the key to their own cage the whole time. You wield influence without relying on their validation. Society often teaches that power comes from external sources, being liked by the right people, securing the right roles, or earning the right endorsements. Many chase approval, believing it's the key to significance. So when they encounter someone like you who radiates authority without waiting for the crowd's permission, it's not just surprising, it's destabilizing. You didn't wait for a coronation to live like royalty in your own life. You didn't queue up for someone else's seal of approval or conform to a gatekeeper's expectations. Instead, you forged your own credibility, moved with your own authority, and refused to diminish yourself for anyone's comfort. You hold power without needing their approval. Most people are conditioned to believe that power is something granted to you by others, that you have to be liked by the right people chosen for the right positions, or endorsed by the right voices to be considered significant. They grow up chasing acceptance, thinking it's the golden ticket to influence. So when they meet someone like you who walks in power without having been given it by the crowd, it's not just surprising, it's destabilizing. You didn't wait to be crowned before acting like royalty in your own life. You didn't stand in line for someone else's stamp of approval. You didn't mold yourself to fit a gatekeeper's checklist. Instead, you built your own credibility, moved in your own authority, and refused to shrink for anyone's comfort. That's threatening to people who've built their entire self-worth on being liked or chosen because it challenges the very structure they rely on to feel important. The most unsettling part for them is that your power isn't up for negotiation. If someone's influence comes solely from public approval, it can be taken away in an instant. One bad rumor, one shift in public opinion, and it crumbles. But when your influence is rooted in your character, your resilience, your knowledge, and your consistency, it can't be snatched from you. That makes you untouchable in ways they can't compete with because they'd have to rebuild themselves from the inside out to even begin to match it. This is why some people will go out of their way to challenge you, discredit you, or undermine you. They need to believe your power is fake or fragile, because the alternative, that you built it yourself and don't need their validation, forces them to face the fact that they've been chasing a watered-down version of power all along. Your very presence becomes a walking contradiction to their worldview. You prove that influence isn't something handed out like an award. It's something you claim and embody. For people still waiting for permission to live fully, that's not just intimidating. It's infuriating because deep down they realize they could have been doing the same thing all along, but they didn't. There's a unique pain people feel when the challenges they thought would crush you become the platform where you shine brightest. They banked on the storm breaking you, expecting you to falter under pressure, lose yourself in turmoil, or fade quietly so they could script your story's end. Instead, you adapted, grew, and emerged not just intact, but stronger, clearer, and more resolute. That reversal gnaws at them in ways they'll never voice aloud. They see you thriving where they prayed you'd fail. There's a unique kind of frustration people feel when the very thing they thought would destroy you becomes the stage where you shine the brightest. They counted on the storm to break you. They expected you to crumble under the weight of the challenges, to lose yourself in the chaos, to disappear quietly so they could write the ending for your story. Instead, you adapted. You learned. You not only survived, you came out of it standing taller, clearer, and more certain than ever. That reversal eats at them in ways they'll never admit out loud. When someone secretly hopes you'll fail, it's not always out of pure malice. Sometimes your failure would have justified their own fears. If you had gone down, it would have confirmed to them that trying is pointless, that the odds are unbeatable, and that it's safer not to risk anything. But you didn't go down. You proved the opposite, that it's possible to face the storm head-on and still win. That's not just inconvenient for them. It's deeply unsettling because now they have to question whether their own limitations are real or self-imposed. What makes it sting even more is the confidence you carry after walking through what was meant to break you. It's one thing to survive. It's another to come out of it with your head high and your spirit intact. That kind of strength can't be faked, and it can't be given. It's earned in fire. Every smile you wear, every calm decision you make, every step forward you take is a silent reminder to them that they underestimated you completely. This is why their envy isn't casual. It's sharp. It's not just that you proved them wrong. You did it in plain sight. You let the storm do its worst and still refused to shrink. Now, instead of the story they were ready to tell about your downfall, they're forced to watch a narrative of resilience and victory play out in front of them. The truth is, nothing disarms those who doubted you faster than thriving in the exact place they thought you'd sink. Because in their minds, you weren't supposed to make it here. Yet here you are, proving not only that you could, but that you were built for it. Your success dismantles the narratives they've clung to for years. People grip their excuses tightly, claiming the timing isn't right, resources are scarce, or the odds are insurmountable. These justifications are comforting not because they're true, but because they absolve them of the need to act. When you achieve despite obstacles, you don't just inspire, you threaten the foundation of their carefully constructed stories. Your triumphs show that barriers they perceived as permanent were merely choices they made. You prove that their excuses were always just excuses. People hold on to excuses like lifelines. They'll tell themselves the timing isn't right, the resources aren't there, the odds are too stacked, or people like me just can't do certain things. These stories become comfortable not because they're true, but because they remove the pressure to try. So when you come along and succeed despite facing your own set of obstacles, it doesn't just inspire them. It threatens the very foundation of the stories they've been telling themselves for years. Your success is a walking contradiction to their narrative. You may have started with less, had fewer connections, or faced more setbacks, yet you still moved forward. That alone is enough to make them uncomfortable because it exposes the fact that there was never a real wall. It was a choice. And admitting that would mean they have to face the uncomfortable truth that the main thing holding them back isn't circumstance but themselves. Instead of letting your story motivate them, many will take the easier route. Resentment. Resentment allows them to dismiss your achievements instead of learning from them. It lets them say, well, they must have had help, or they just got lucky, rather than confronting the possibility that discipline, risk, and persistence played the biggest roles. That way, they can keep their excuses intact without making any changes to their own life. The irony is that you probably weren't even trying to prove anything to them. You were simply living your life, taking chances and doing the hard work. But in doing so, you unintentionally expand the gap between what's possible and what they've settled for. That gap is uncomfortable to look at because it demands a choice: grow or stay stuck. Most will stay stuck because change requires effort, and effort requires letting go of the comfort of excuses. So resentment becomes the shield they hide behind. But deep down, they know the truth. If you could do it, there's no reason they couldn't have tried. That's the unspoken reason they watch you so closely, not to celebrate, but to see if they can find any flaw that makes your rise less confronting. The problem for them is the proof you represent can't be undone. Some aren't just unsettled by your success, they're rattled because you refuse to apologize for it. Society often expects those who rise above to downplay their achievements or justify their shine to avoid making others feel inferior. When you reject that expectation, you defy an unspoken rule, throwing them off balance. They try to use guilt as a tool to rein you in, but your refusal to comply drives them to frustration. You refuse to wear the guilt they project onto you. Some people aren't just uncomfortable with your success. They're uncomfortable with the fact that you won't apologize for it. They've been conditioned to believe that anyone who rises above the crowd should tone it down, hide it, or constantly explain themselves so others don't feel less than. When you refuse to do that, you break an unspoken social rule, and it throws them off balance. They try to use guilt as a leash, a subtle way to pull you back in line. But when you don't take the bait, it drives them mad. They'll frame it in ways that sound reasonable. You've changed. Don't forget where you came from. Or you think you're better than everyone. The point isn't to start a discussion. It's to plant a seed of self-doubt in you. If they can make you second-guess yourself, they can slow you down. Guilt becomes their tool of control, a way to keep you small enough to make them comfortable. The reason your refusal to carry that guilt is so threatening is because it leaves them with nothing to hold over you. People who depend on manipulation to feel powerful can't handle someone who sees through it and walks away untouched. It's not just that you're immune to their tactics, it's that you're showing others it's possible to be immune. That's dangerous to someone who thrives on control. By rejecting their guilt trips, you're sending a message they can't ignore. You're allowed to succeed without apologizing. You're allowed to stand out without shrinking. And you're allowed to choose your own path without justifying it to anyone. That kind of unapologetic living makes some people furious because it dismantles the social dynamic where they get to decide who's allowed to shine. At its core, this isn't about arrogance. It's about boundaries. You've decided you won't dim your light just to make others more comfortable in their shadows. While that choice might cost you approval in certain circles, it gives you something far more valuable: the freedom to live without being chained to someone else's insecurities. For people who rely on guilt as a weapon, that's not just frustrating, it's a complete loss of control. You upend the social order they believed was fixed. Some derive their sense of worth from assuming they'll always outrank you, whether in status, wealth, or influence. They've mentally categorized you as lesser to bolster their own security. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just the comfort of routine. But when you rise and surpass their assigned limits, you shake the foundation of that assumed hierarchy, and fragile egos struggle to cope. You disrupt the hierarchy they thought was permanent. Some people build their sense of worth on the idea that they'll always be above you in life, whether socially, financially, or in influence. They've placed you in a mental box, labeling you as less than, so they can feel secure in their own position. It's not always malicious at first. Sometimes it's just the comfort of familiarity. But when you start rising and surpassing the limitations they assign to you, it shakes the foundation of that unspoken hierarchy. Suddenly, the order they thought was permanent no longer exists, and fragile egos do not handle that well. Your growth doesn't just surprise them, it threatens them. They have to face the fact that the role they believed you'd play forever, the one beneath them, has changed. You're no longer the one asking for help, approval, or opportunities. You're creating your own. That forces them to see you differently, which for some is deeply uncomfortable because it means rethinking their own place in the world. The reversal is especially hard for people who define themselves by being ahead of you. If their self-worth relied on comparison, then your success feels like their loss. It's not that you took anything from them, but your rise removes the gap they used to lean on for confidence. They can't look down at you anymore to feel tall. This is when you'll notice subtle changes in their behavior. Some will grow distant, others will try to undermine your progress so the hierarchy can return to normal. A few might even pretend they always believed in you just to save face. But beneath all of that is the same truth: you've disrupted the way they've always measured themselves, and they don't know how to adjust. What makes this shift so powerful is that it proves hierarchies are often illusions built on perception rather than reality. When you rise, you reveal that those permanent positions aren't fixed. They're just placeholders until someone has the courage to outgrow them. That's what you've done. You've outgrown the role they assigned you, and now they have to tilt their head up to see you. For someone with a fragile ego, that's not just a change, it's an earthquake. You radiate brilliance without restraint. Most are taught to temper their shine to a level that's likable but not intimidating. You, however, bring your full self, your confidence, presence, skills, and ideas unapologetically without dimming for approval. While this inspires some, it unsettles others by highlighting their untapped potential. Your light exposes the limits of their comfort zones, making their acceptance of mediocrity feel smaller. You shine without dimmer switches. Most people are taught early on to keep their brilliance at a polite level, just enough to be liked, but never so much that it makes others uncomfortable. You, on the other hand, never installed a dimmer switch. When you walk into a room, you bring all of yourself. Your confidence, your presence, your skills, your ideas, without watering them down for approval. And while that inspires some, it unsettles many more, because it exposes the truth about their own untapped potential. When someone is settled into mediocrity, your full light feels like a spotlight on what they're not doing. You become a living contrast between what's possible and what they've accepted. It's not that you're trying to make them feel small. It's that your excellence makes their comfort zone look even smaller than it already is. That's a difficult thing for the ego to process, especially for those who've convinced themselves they're doing fine without ever stretching beyond the bare minimum. The discomfort you cause has nothing to do with arrogance and everything to do with authenticity. You've decided that dimming your light to make others comfortable is not kindness, it's self-betrayal. That decision challenges an unspoken rule that says, blend in, don't stand out, and keep your success modest so no one feels threatened. By breaking that rule, you reveal how much of that mindset is rooted in fear, not humility. Here's the kicker: people can't unsee it once they've been confronted by it. Once they've been in the presence of someone fully alive, fully present, and unapologetically excellent, the idea of settling quietly becomes harder to justify. That's why some will avoid you, criticize you, or try to dim you with backhanded comments. It's easier to tear down a light than to build their own. Your refusal to tone yourself down doesn't just make you stand out, it forces others to make a choice. They can either rise to meet the standard your presence sets, or they can retreat into resentment. While many will choose the latter, your light remains untouchable because it was never fueled by their comfort in the first place. It was fueled by your refusal to live at half power. To those lacking confidence, your self-assurance feels like arrogance. Insecure individuals filter everything through their own doubts, misinterpreting your poise, clear speech, or decisive actions as pride. Your certainty is alien, even threatening, because it underscores their daily uncertainties. You're not trying to outshine anyone. You've simply stopped seeking permission to be yourself. Your confidence feels like arrogance to the insecure. Insecure people read everything through the filter of their own self-doubt. When they see you standing tall, speaking with clarity, or moving through life without hesitation, they don't interpret it as confidence. They interpret it as arrogance. To them, certainty feels foreign, even threatening, because it highlights the uncertainty they live with every day. The truth is, you're not trying to prove you're better than anyone. You've simply reached a point where you no longer ask for permission to be who you are. The problem for the insecure is that your self-assurance disrupts the social rhythm they're used to. They expect people to soften their edges, downplay their strengths, and move cautiously so no one feels overshadowed. When you refuse to do that, you break their unspoken rule, don't be too much, because they've built their self-worth on external validation. They mistake your independence from it as an attempt to elevate yourself above others. This misunderstanding isn't really about you at all. It's about them. Someone who feels grounded in themselves won't be threatened by your confidence because they see it as self-ownership rather than competition. But for those who secretly question their own value, your presence feels like a silent reminder of what they haven't built within themselves. It's easier for them to label you as arrogant than to admit they're unsettled because they see a level of wholeness they haven't yet reached. What makes this dynamic even more frustrating for them is that your confidence isn't loud or attention-seeking. It's steady. It's the kind that doesn't need to be announced because it's woven into how you carry yourself. That kind of quiet strength is the hardest for insecure people to handle because they can't write it off as a performance. It's real. By simply existing as your full self, you show that it's possible to live without constantly seeking reassurance. That's liberating to some, but confronting to others. While they may try to twist your confidence into arrogance, the reality is you've just stopped shrinking to fit spaces that were never built to hold you. You've chosen to exist fully, and for people still stuck in half-existence that feels less like inspiration and more like a threat. Your independence infuriates those who crave control. They don't just want to be part of your journey. They want to be its cornerstone, tying your stability to their presence, approval, or resources. That reliance gives them leverage, a way to pull you back or punish you for straying from their expectations. When you thrive without needing them, their power dynamic collapses, leaving them grasping for relevance. They're mad because you don't need them to be somebody. People who thrive on control don't just want to be part of your life. They want to be the reason you can function. They want you to lean on them so that your stability is tied to their presence, their approval, or their resources. That dependency becomes their leverage. It's the invisible leash that allows them to pull you back when they feel you're getting too far ahead or punish you when you don't follow their unspoken rules. When you don't need them to survive, that entire power dynamic collapses. They can no longer dangle help over your head like a prize or withhold it as punishment. They can't remind you of all they've done for you to make you feel small, because your life isn't built on their contributions. And to someone whose self-worth comes from being needed, that's a crushing blow. What makes them even angrier is that your independence didn't come from luck. It came from effort, sacrifice, and a willingness to grow. They saw you during your building phase, and some of them assumed you'd never fully stand on your own. They liked the version of you that was still figuring things out because it meant you were within their reach, easier to influence and easier to define. But once you became self-sufficient, you removed the very hook they used to keep you in place. This isn't just about money. It's about emotional and mental freedom too. If they can't make you feel guilty, ashamed, or dependent on their opinion, they lose one of the main ways they controlled your decisions. Your ability to validate yourself without their input makes them irrelevant in the areas they used to dominate. For people who measure their importance by how much they are needed, irrelevance feels like a personal attack. They don't see your independence as self-respect. They see it as rebellion. They'll twist it into a sign that you're ungrateful or too proud because it's easier to demonize your freedom than to admit they were counting on your dependence to keep their own sense of power alive. The reality is, you're not rejecting people. You're rejecting control. And that scares them because deep down they know that once you've tasted life without strings attached, you'll never go back to being someone they could keep on a leash. Some can't comprehend the burdens you've carried because they know those same trials would have shattered them. They see your story marked by betrayals, losses, failures, and relentless storms and recognize that they would have crumbled under that weight. Yet you're not just surviving, you're thriving, carrying a wisdom and strength forged in adversity that they can't replicate. They know they'd break if they lived your life, but you didn't. Some people can't even wrap their minds around the weight you've carried because they know deep down it would have crushed them. They look at the chapters of your life, the betrayals, losses, failures, isolation, and storms that never seem to end. And they know if those same events had been written into their story, they would have folded. They would have given up, lost themselves, or become a permanent victim of their own circumstances. But here you are not just breathing, but thriving, not just existing, but walking with a sharper mind, deeper insight, and a strength that doesn't come from books or speeches. It comes from surviving things that had every right to destroy you. That reality unsettles them because it removes the comfort they get from thinking, "I couldn't do it, so no one could." You've proven that survival and transformation are possible, and now they have to face the fact that their own limits might be self-imposed. What truly gets to them is that you didn't just limp away from the fire. You came out with wisdom. They can't buy copy or fake. Your decisions, your boundaries, your discernment. They all come from lessons you learned the hard way. That makes you operate on a level they can't reach without going through their own trials, which they're too afraid to face. So instead of doing the work, they resent the person who did. It's not only jealousy, it's fear. Fear that you've become something unshakable. Fear that the strength you now carry is permanent. Fear that if life throws another storm your way, you won't break while they might never recover from even half of what you've endured. That kind of resilience exposes fragility, and fragile people hate mirrors like that. So they disguise their fear as criticism. They'll call you cold, distant, or lucky because it's easier than admitting they see you as a living reminder of their own untested limits. But their anger is proof of something they'll never say out loud, that you've mastered a level of survival they hope they're never forced to attempt. You didn't just live through what they couldn't handle. You came out of it a weapon they can't break. That's exactly why they can't stand you. At the heart of it all, their anger, jealousy, and silent grudges aren't really about you. They're about what you represent. You are living proof that limits can be broken, survival can be victorious, and the rules they thought were fixed can be rewritten. Your very existence forces people to confront truths they've spent years avoiding, that their excuses were just comfort blankets. Their control was an illusion, and their idea of power was built on approval, not substance. They resent you because you've walked through storms that would have destroyed them and came out shining brighter without asking for their permission, their praise, or their support. You've dismantled their unspoken hierarchies, refused their projected guilt, and thrived where they hoped you'd fall. Every success you have, every boundary you keep, every ounce of confidence you display is a reminder that the life they settled for is not the only life possible. The truth is, you're not even trying to compete. You're simply living in your truth, standing in your freedom, and walking in your own lane. Yet that alone shakes the foundation of everything they've built their identity on. They can try to label it arrogance, luck, or rebellion, but deep down they know the truth. You are proof that fear can be defeated. Resilience can be unbreakable, and greatness can grow in the most hostile soil. So let them talk, let them glare, let them misunderstand, because at the end of the day, you're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to live fully. Every ounce of their anger is just confirmation that you're doing exactly that. Chosen one. As the sharp sting of envy and the bitter whispers of resentment from others gradually fade into the distant background, take a moment to truly recognize that their intense reactions only serve to confirm the radiant, undeniable light now shining brightly through every aspect of your being. What initially began as their jealousy over your unexpected elevation and the favor resting upon your life has now, by divine design, transformed into a powerful celebration of your long-awaited breakthrough. The very individuals who once gathered in corners to murmur in anger, questioning your worthiness or plotting against your progress, are on the verge of witnessing the magnificent overflow of blessings that God has prepared specifically for you. You've faithfully passed every grueling test that once stirred their madness and fueled their opposition, enduring trials that refined your character and deepened your faith. And now, in this pivotal moment of transition, God Himself steps forward with sovereign authority to personally fund every single promise He whispered to your heart in the midnight hours. Your prolonged season of scrutiny, doubt, and external pressure is officially over, sealed by heaven's decree. Your glorious era of abundance, provision, and unchained purpose has fully arrived, ready to unfold in ways that will silence every critic and glorify the one who called you. Maybe you didn't feel strong, but you were. Isaiah chapter 54, verse 17 states, "No weapon forged against you will prevail." That's not a maybe, it's a fact. The attacks that should have destroyed you only sharpened you. God was funding your resilience, turning every setback into a setup for something greater. Think about Joseph, sold into slavery, thrown into prison, forgotten by those he helped. Yet every step of his journey was funded by God. The pit couldn't hold him. The prison couldn't break him. Why? Because God had already written his name on a palace door. Your name is written on doors you haven't even seen yet. Doors of opportunity, healing, and prosperity. The world may have counted you out, but God counted you in. Your life is his investment, and he never backs a losing bet. What does it feel like to stop worrying? Imagine waking up without that knot in your stomach. No more replaying worst-case scenarios in your mind. No more wondering how you'll make it through. That's the freedom God is funding. It's not just about having enough. It's about knowing you're enough. You've passed the test of faith, and now you're stepping into the reward of certainty. John chapter 16, verse 33 mentions, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." Jesus spoke those words for you. The world's trouble is real, but so is his victory, and it's yours. You might be thinking, but what about my mistakes, my doubts, the times I faltered? Let me tell you something. Your imperfections didn't disqualify you, they qualified you. God doesn't choose the perfect, he chooses the willing. David was a shepherd with a sling, yet he took down Goliath. Moses stuttered, yet he led a nation. You, with all your flaws, are exactly who God wants. Your weaknesses are where his strength shines brightest. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 confirms, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Your past isn't a liability, it's a testimony. Now picture this: a life where every need is met before you even ask. A business deal that comes through at the perfect moment. A relationship restored when you least expect it. A body healed when doctors said it was impossible. This isn't a fairy tale. It's God's funding plan for you. He's not just paying your bills. He's rewriting your reality. The job you lost, it's making way for a calling you love. The pain you endured, it's birthing a purpose that will touch lives. Every closed door was God redirecting you to something better. Let's get real for a second. The world is loud. It screams scarcity, fear, and failure. It tells you to hustle harder, to doubt yourself, to settle for less. But God's voice is louder. He's saying, "I've got this, you're mine." When you lean into that truth, worry loses its grip. You don't need to control everything because God already does. Your job isn't to figure it all out. It's to trust and walk forward. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 to 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." That's your blueprint. Have you ever seen a river carved through rock? It doesn't force its way. It flows steady and sure until the rock gives way. That's what God's provision does in your life. It flows, reshaping obstacles, smoothing rough edges, creating paths where none existed. You've been trying to break through on your own, but you don't have to anymore. God is the river, and you're carried by his current. Your dreams, your needs, your future, they're all funded by the one who spoke the universe into existence. Let's talk about time. You've waited, haven't you? Maybe years for a breakthrough, for a sign, for relief. That waiting wasn't wasted. Every moment was preparation. God was building your faith, teaching you resilience, aligning circumstances you couldn't see. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 reminds, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Your harvest is here. The seeds you planted in tears are sprouting into blessings. The proper time is now. Pause again. Feel the weight lifting. You're not carrying the burden of provision anymore. God is. Hit that like button to affirm this truth. Chosen one as the sharp sting of envy and the bitter, relentless whispers of resentment from others gradually fade into the distant, irrelevant background like echoes swallowed by a vast canyon. Take a sacred, unhurried moment to truly recognize and fully absorb that their intense, often venomous reactions only serve to powerfully confirm the radiant, undeniable, and ever-growing light now shining brilliantly through every single aspect of your being, a light that no darkness can dim. What initially began as their raw jealousy over your unexpected heaven-ordained elevation and the thick, tangible favor now resting so visibly upon your life has, by the masterful and merciful design of God Himself, been sovereignly transformed into a resounding public celebration of your long-awaited, hard-won, and gloriously destined breakthrough. The very individuals who once huddled in shadowy corners to murmur in anger, to question your worthiness, with cutting words to plot against your progress, with subtle sabotage, or to dismiss your dreams as delusions, are now standing on the very cusp of witnessing the magnificent jaw-dropping overflow of blessings that the Almighty has meticulously prepared, reserved, and earmarked exclusively for you since before you drew your first breath. You faithfully, painfully, and triumphantly passed every grueling, soul-stretching test that once stirred their madness, fueled their opposition, and amplified their criticism. Tests that refined your character in fire, deepened your faith in the furnace of affliction, and anchored your identity in the unshakable truth of who God says you are. And now, in this exact divinely appointed Kairos moment of transition, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob steps forward with sovereign, unstoppable authority to personally, irrevocably, and extravagantly fund every single promise. He whispered to your heart in the midnight hours when no one else was listening, every vow. He sealed in your spirit during the tears you cried alone every word. He wrote over your life before the foundation of the world. Your prolonged, exhausting season of microscopic scrutiny, crushing doubt, relentless external pressure, and internal warfare is officially over, sealed forever by heaven's irreversible decree and celebrated with angelic applause. Your glorious, long-prophesied era of abundance, supernatural provision, unchained purpose, radiant health, restored relationships, and generational impact has not only arrived, it has burst forth like the dawn after the longest night, ready to unfold in breathtaking consecutive waves that will silence every critic, humble every doubter, and glorify the one who called you by name, redeemed you by blood, and crowned you with loving kindness and tender mercies. The jealousy that once surrounded you is becoming the backdrop against which your elevation shines brightest, and the very mouths that spoke against you will soon declare to their own astonishment, "Look what the Lord has done." People will notice a change in you, a lightness, a confidence that wasn't there before. They'll wonder why you're not stressed, why you're not chasing. It's because you're funded by heaven's economy, not the world's. Let's look at Abraham. God told him to leave everything familiar, his home, his comfort, his plans, and go to a land he didn't know. No map, no guarantees, just a promise. And Abraham went. Why? Because he trusted the one funding his journey. Genesis chapter 22 verse 14 calls God Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides. Abraham didn't worry about the details. He walked and God provided a ram, a nation, a legacy. Your journey is no different. You don't need all the answers, just the faith to move. Worry is a thief. It steals your sleep, your joy, your focus, but you're done with it. God's funding means you don't need to borrow from tomorrow's peace to survive today. Matthew chapter 6 verse 34 says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." You've passed the test of endurance and now you're stepping into rest. Not laziness, but a divine calm that comes from knowing your provider never fails. Your bank account might not show it yet, but your spirit knows you're covered. Think about the sparrows. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 10 verses 29 to 31, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny, yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care? And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows." If God cares for birds, how much more does He care for you? You're not just a number to Him. You're His chosen. Every detail of your life, your needs, your dreams, your fears is known and funded. What does a funded life look like? It's freedom. Freedom to give generously because you know your source is limitless. Freedom to dream big because your backer is infinite. Freedom to rest because your battles are already won. You're not scraping by anymore. You're thriving. Your health improves because stress no longer rules you. Your relationships deepen because fear no longer drives you. Your purpose clarifies because doubt no longer clouds you. This is God's plan, and it's unfolding. Now let's talk about the enemy for a moment. He's been loud, hasn't he? Telling you you'll fail, that you're alone, that God's forgotten you, but he's a liar. John chapter 8 verse 44 calls him the father of lies. Every time he spoke defeat, God was speaking victory. Every time he whispered lack, God was preparing abundance. The enemy's voice is loud, but God's is stronger. You've passed his tests, and now his lies have no power. You're funded by the King of Kings, and no force in hell can stop that. Picture a table set before you, overflowing with everything you need. Psalm chapter 23 verse 5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." That table isn't just for you. It's a statement. It's God saying, "I've got you," and everyone will see it. Your enemies' doubt, fear, lack can only watch as you feast on his provision. Your life is becoming a testimony, not just for you, but for everyone watching. They'll see what happens when God funds a chosen one. You might wonder, how do I step into this? It's simple. Trust and act. Trust that God's promises are true. Act by walking forward even when you can't see the whole path. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 says, "Faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." You don't need to see the money in your account to know it's coming. You don't need to feel peace to know it's yours. You just need to move one step at a time, knowing God's funding everyone. Let's talk about your dreams, those big impossible ones you've buried because life got heavy. God's funding those too. He didn't give you those desires to tease you. He gave them to guide you. Philippians chapter 2 verse 13 says, "It is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose." That business idea, that book, that ministry, that family you want to build, it's not dead. God's breathing life into it, funding it with resources you can't yet see but will soon hold. You've been carrying burdens that weren't yours to bear. Bills, relationships, health issues. God's saying, "Give them to me." 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7 says, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." That's not a suggestion. It's a command. Lay it down. Stop worrying. God's funding means he's handling what you can't. Your job is to rest in his promise, to walk in his purpose, to live like you're already provided for because you are. What's it like to live without worry? It's waking up with a song in your heart instead of a weight on your chest. It's making decisions from faith, not fear. It's looking at your bank account and knowing no matter the number, God's got more coming. It's seeing a doctor's report and trusting the healer over the diagnosis. It's knowing every step you take is backed by the creator of the universe. That's the life God's funding for you starting now. Let's talk about Noah. The world mocked him, building an ark in a desert. No rain, no reason, just a promise. But Noah didn't worry. He built, he trusted, and when the floods came, his faith was funded literally and figuratively. You're Noah. The world may not see it yet, but God's building something through you. Every board you lay, every step you take is funded by his promise. The rain's coming and it's bringing abundance. Your life isn't random. Every trial, every delay, every closed door was part of the test, and you passed. God's not just funding your needs, he's funding your legacy. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 9 says, "Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments." Your children, their children, and beyond, they're funded too. Your obedience today is setting up their overflow tomorrow. Stop for a second. Let's talk about what's coming. Opportunities you didn't expect. Connections that feel divinely timed. Resources that appear just when you need them. This isn't luck. It's God's funding. He's aligning people, places, and moments to bring His promises to life. Isaiah chapter 60 verse 22 says, "The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time I will do this swiftly." Swiftly. That's how fast God can move when it's your season, and it is. You've been faithful in the small things, the late nights praying, the quiet acts of kindness. No one saw the times you chose forgiveness over bitterness. God saw it all. Luke chapter 16 verse 10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." You've proven yourself, and now He's entrusting you with more. More peace, more provision, more purpose. Your faithfulness funded your future, and God's signing the check. What does a funded life demand? Gratitude. Not just saying thank you, but living it. Every breath, every opportunity, every moment is a gift. Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God." Gratitude shifts your perspective from lack to abundance. It turns worry into worship. Start now. Thank God for what's coming before it arrives. That's faith. Let's talk about Hannah. She prayed for a child year after year through tears and taunts, but she didn't stop trusting. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 27 says, "I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him." God funded her prayer with Samuel, a prophet who changed a nation. Your prayers, your tears, your faith, they're being funded too. What you've asked for is coming, not because you earned it, but because God promised it. You're not just surviving anymore, you're thriving. God's funding means you're not scraping by, you're stepping into overflow. Jobs will find you, healing will chase you, peace will surround you. This isn't a dream, it's your reality. Psalm chapter 37 verse 4 says, "Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Your heart's desires aren't too big for God. They're His blueprint for your life. The enemy's been loud, but he's losing. Every lie he told you about your worth, your future, your chances is crumbling. God's funding your victory over every attack. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 16 says, "Take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one." Your faith is your shield, and it's bulletproof. No arrow of doubt, fear, or lack can pierce it. You've passed, and the enemy's out of moves. What's it like to live funded? It's walking into a room and knowing you carry heaven's backing. It's making choices without fear because God's got your back. It's seeing obstacles as opportunities because you know who's funding your path. You're not just a person, you're a purpose, a testimony, a chosen one. Your life is a living proof of God's faithfulness, and the world's about to see it. Let's talk about timing. You felt stuck, haven't you? Like life's on pause while everyone else moves forward, but God's timing isn't your timing. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time." Your delays were divine. They weren't punishment, they were preparation. Every moment you waited, God was aligning resources, people, and plans. Now the clock's ticking, and your season of overflow is here. You're not ordinary. You never were. The world may have tried to box you in to make you feel small, but God's funding your true identity. You're a chosen one marked for greatness. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 reveals, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." You were set apart for a life funded by heaven. A life where worry has no place and abundance is your birthright. What happens when God funds your life? Miracles become your norm. Doors open without you knocking. Strangers become allies. Problems become testimonies. You're not hoping for breakthroughs, you're living them. Zechariah chapter 4 verse 6 says, "Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty." It's His Spirit funding your life, moving mountains you thought were permanent. Let's talk about your heart. It's been heavy carrying dreams, deferred promises, delayed. But God's funding your healing. Isaiah chapter 61 verse 1 says, "He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted." Your heart isn't just mending, it's being remade stronger, bolder, ready to hold the abundance coming your way. Let go of the pain. It's not your story anymore. Your story is victory, provision, and purpose. You've been tested by fire, but you're coming out gold. Job chapter 23 verse 10 says, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." Your trials weren't random. They were refining you. God was funding your character, your faith, your future. Every moment you thought you were losing, you were gaining wisdom, strength, and a testimony that will shake the world. What does it mean to stop worrying? It's not ignoring reality. It's trusting a greater one, God's reality, where lack doesn't exist, where fear has no voice, where your future is secure. Matthew chapter 11 verse 28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Rest isn't just sleep. It's the peace of knowing God's funding every step. Lay your burdens down. He's got you. Think about Daniel, thrown into a lion's den facing death. But he didn't worry. Why? Because he knew his God was bigger than the lions. Daniel chapter 6 verse 22 says, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions." God's shutting the mouths of your lions. Debt, sickness, fear. You're not just surviving the den. You're walking out victorious, funded by the King. Your life is a canvas, and God's the artist. Every stroke, the pain, the joy, the waiting was intentional. Now, he's painting a masterpiece. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10 says, "We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Your good works, your purpose, your impact, they're all funded. Step into the frame. The world's waiting to see the masterpiece unveiled. You've been carrying a vision, haven't you? Something bigger than yourself. A dream that feels impossible. God's funding that vision. He didn't plant it to let it die. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 says, "The vision awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come." Your vision isn't late. It's on God's schedule, and he's funding every step to bring it to life. Let's talk about your legacy. God's not just funding your now. He's funding your forever. Your life will leave a mark on your family, your community, the world. Psalm chapter 112 verse 3 says, "Wealth and riches are in their houses, and their righteousness endures forever." Your obedience today is building wealth, spiritual, emotional, financial, that will bless your children's children. You're not just living for now. You're laying a foundation for forever, funded by God's eternal promise. The enemy tried to bankrupt you emotionally, financially, spiritually, but he failed. You're still here standing, believing. Why? Because God's funding your comeback. Joel chapter 2 verse 25 says, "I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten." Everything you lost is being restored, multiplied, overflowing. The enemy is out of business, but you're just getting started. What's it like to live funded by God? It's boldness. It's walking into rooms knowing you're backed by heaven. It's giving without fear because your source is endless. It's dreaming without limits because your provider is infinite. You're not waiting for permission anymore. You've got God's signature. Step out. Start that business. Write that book. Heal that relationship. It's all funded. Let's talk about peace. Not the fleeting kind, but the deep, unshakable kind. John chapter 16 verse 33 says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace." God's funding your peace, not just your provision. That anxiety that's kept you up at night, it's losing its grip. That fear of tomorrow, it's fading. You're stepping into a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances because it's rooted in God's promise. You've been a warrior fighting battles no one else saw, but the war's over. You've passed. Now God's funding your victory lap. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 57 says, Thanks be to God. He gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. This isn't a temporary win. It's eternal. Your life is a testimony of triumph, and God's funding every chapter. What does abundance look like? It's not just wealth, it's wholeness. A body that's strong, a mind that's clear, a heart that's full, a purpose that's alive. God's funding every part of you, making you whole where you were broken, strong where you were weak. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 says, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." You're soaring now, chosen one. You might feel like you're not ready, like you need more time, more proof, but God's saying, you're ready now. You've passed the test. The funding's approved. The doors are open. Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God goes with you." You're not stepping into the unknown. You're stepping into God's plan, fully funded and divinely guided. Let's talk about your influence. God's not just funding your life. He's funding your impact, your story, your faith, your resilience. It's inspiring others. People are watching even if you don't see it. Your life is a light. Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Your abundance is a testimony drawing others to God's goodness. You've been through storms, but they didn't drown you. Why? Because God was funding your survival. Every wave that hit you was met with His strength. Psalm chapter 107 verse 29 says, "He stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed." The storms are hushed now. The waves are calm. You're stepping into a season of peace, provision, and purpose, all funded by the one who never fails. What's next? Action. Not striving, not worrying, but moving in faith. God's funding your steps, but you've got to take them. James chapter 2 verse 17 says, "Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead." Your faith is alive, chosen one. Act on it. Say yes to the opportunity. Trust the nudge. Follow the vision. God's got the resources ready. You just need to show up. You're not alone in this. Thousands of chosen ones are stepping into their funded lives, standing in faith, claiming their promises. Join them. Hit that like button. Subscribe to stand with this community of believers, and comment 777 to declare you're ready for God's overflow. This isn't just a video, it's a moment of alignment. Claim it now. Let's talk about your future. It's not a question mark anymore. It's an exclamation point. God's funding a future that's bigger than your past. Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." That hope is here. That future is now. Every step you take is funded by His promise, leading you to a life of purpose and abundance. You've been faithful through the pain, the waiting, the uncertainty. Now God's faithful to you. He's funding your dreams, you're healing your legacy. Psalm chapter 37 verse 18 says, "The blameless spend their days under the Lord's care, and their inheritance will endure forever." Your inheritance isn't temporary, it's eternal. Step into it with confidence, knowing God's got every detail covered. What does it mean to be funded by God? It's living without limits, not reckless but fearless, not arrogant but assured. You're not bound by the world's economy because you're operating in heaven's. Your resources, your strength, your opportunities, they're all backed by the Creator. Romans chapter 8 verse 31 says, "If God is for us, who can be against us? No one. Nothing. You're funded and you're unstoppable." Let's talk about joy. Not the fleeting kind from a good day, but the deep, unshakable kind that comes from knowing you're chosen. Nehemiah chapter 8 verse 10 says, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." God's funding your joy, turning your mourning into dancing. You've cried enough tears. Now it's time to laugh, to celebrate, to live fully in the abundance He's pouring out. You've been tested, but you've passed. You've been knocked down, but you've risen. You've worried, but now you're free. God's funding your life, chosen one, and it's time to stop worrying. Step into His promise. Claim His provision. Live His purpose. Your life is no longer a question. It's an answer. A testimony of God's faithfulness shining for all to see. Let's talk about the shift in your spirit. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet stirring deep inside like a spark catching fire. It's not just hope, it's certainty. God's funding your life, and it's rewriting the way you see yourself. No longer the one who questions, who hesitates, who wonders if you're worthy. You're stepping into a new identity, one carved by divine hands. If anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here. That's you, new, chosen, funded for a purpose that's unfolding with every breath. Your past taught you resilience, but your future demands boldness. God's not just funding your survival, He's funding your audacity. Think about Esther, a young woman, an orphan placed in a palace among strangers. She could have stayed silent, played it safe, but God funded her courage, and she spoke up, saving a nation. Esther, chapter 4, verse 14 says, "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" You're in your royal position now, chosen one. God's funding your voice, your vision, your victory. Speak, act, shine. What happens when God takes over your finances? It's not just about paying bills, it's about breaking ceilings. The limits you've known, whether it's a paycheck that barely stretches or a dream that feels out of reach, are crumbling. God's economy doesn't operate on scarcity. He's the God who fed thousands with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Matthew chapter 14 verse 20 says, "They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 baskets of broken pieces that were left over." That's His math abundance with leftovers. Your life is about to have leftovers overflow more than enough. You've been running a race, pushing against resistance. Maybe it's been years of striving, of feeling like you're just one step behind. But God's funding your pace now. He's not asking you to sprint. He's teaching you to soar. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 says, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." You're not running anymore. You're rising. Every step feels lighter because God's carrying the weight. Your race isn't against others. It's toward His purpose, and He's funding every mile. Let's talk about your relationships. God's not just funding your finances or your dreams. He's funding your connections. The people who drained you, who doubted you, who walked away, they're making room for divine alignments. God's bringing people into your life who see your worth, who fuel your purpose, who walk with you in faith. Proverbs chapter 13 verse 20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Your new companions are coming wise, faithful, and funded by the same God who's funding you. You've carried burdens that weren't yours, expectations from others, guilt from past mistakes, fear of what's next. But God's saying, let them go. He's funding your freedom. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7 says, "Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you." That care isn't passive, it's active. He's taking every worry you release and replacing it with peace. Picture it. A heart unburdened, a mind clear, a life open to receive. That's what God's funding looks like. A clean slate ready for His promises. What about your health? God's funding that too. You've battled stress, maybe illness, maybe exhaustion from carrying too much, but He's the healer. Psalm chapter 30 verse 2 says, "Lord my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me." Your body is a temple, and God's restoring it. Energy you thought was gone is returning. Strength you didn't know you had is rising. This isn't just about feeling better. It's about living fully, vibrantly, ready to carry out the purpose He's funded. Pause for a moment. Feel the truth sinking in. You're not just surviving, you're being rebuilt. God's funding every part of you, your spirit, your body, your future. Hit that like button to affirm this. Subscribe to join thousands of chosen ones stepping into their divine funding, and comment 707 to declare you're ready for the overflow. This is your moment to claim what's yours, to stand in faith, to say, I'm ready. Let's talk about your purpose. It's not a vague idea, it's a divine assignment. God didn't just fund your life to make you comfortable. He funded it to make you impactful. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10 says, "We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Those good works are calling you. Whether it's starting a ministry, building a business, or simply showing kindness in a broken world, God's funding the tools, the time, the opportunities to make it happen. You've faced rejection, haven't you? Doors slammed shut, people who didn't believe in you, but every no was God's redirection. He was funding your path, steering you away from what wouldn't serve His plan. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 8 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." Those rejections weren't failures. They were divine filters, guiding you to the yeses that align with your purpose. Watch now. Those yeses are coming. What does it mean to live without fear? It's not ignoring danger. It's knowing your protector is greater. Psalm chapter 91 verse 4 says, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." God's funding your safety, your confidence, your courage. The fears that once held you back, failure, judgment, lack, are losing their power. You're walking forward, covered by His wings, funded by His promise, unstoppable in His purpose. Think about Ruth. She lost everything. Her husband, her home, her security, but she chose faith over despair, and God funded her journey. Ruth chapter 2 verse 12 says, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord." Her loyalty led to Boaz, to a legacy, to a place in the lineage of Jesus. Your loyalty to God's call is leading you to your Boaz moment, a season of reward, restoration, and divine connection. You've been planting seeds even when the ground felt barren. Prayers whispered in the dark. Acts of faith no one saw. God's been watching, and He's funding the harvest with an abundance that defies every season of drought you've endured. Galatians chapter 6 verse 7 states, "A man reaps what he sows." Your faithfulness in the quiet moments, your unwavering trust when answers seem delayed, your perseverance through the darkest valleys, they're all sprouting now, breaking through the soil like seeds long buried but never forgotten. The harvest isn't merely sufficient to get by. It's extravagantly abundant, overflowing in ways that will leave you breathless. Jobs that align perfectly with your calling, opportunities that arrive at the exact moment you need them. Relationships that nurture and elevate your spirit health, that renews your strength daily. They're all blooming vibrantly because God's personally funding the very soil you've tilled with tears, prayers, and steadfast obedience. Every effort you poured out in faith is now yielding fruit 100-fold, transforming barren ground into a garden of divine provision. Let's talk about your confidence in greater depth. Not the loud, boastful kind that demands attention from crowds, but the quiet, unshakable assurance that flows from knowing you're fully backed by heaven's unlimited resources. God's actively funding your belief in yourself, rebuilding the inner foundation that doubts once eroded. 1 John chapter 5 verse 14 confirms, "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us." You're no longer begging for scraps at the table of scarcity. You're claiming the promises etched into your destiny with bold authority. Walk taller with shoulders back and head held high, carrying the posture of royalty. Speak bolder, letting your words carry the weight of heaven's truth without apology. Live freer, unencumbered by the chains of past failures or future fears. God's got your back in every situation, shielding you from unseen attacks and guiding your every step. And the world is about to witness this transformation, marveling at the radiance that now emanates from your life. You've been in the wilderness, haven't you? That prolonged season where nothing made sense, where prayers seemed to echo unanswered, and where God himself felt painfully distant, as if hidden behind an impenetrable veil. But understand this clearly: the wilderness was never punishment for your shortcomings. It was divine preparation, a sacred refining process designed to strengthen your character and deepen your dependence on him alone. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 2 reminds, "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart." Your heart not only endured the test, it passed with flying colors, emerging purer, stronger, and more aligned with God's perfect will. Now, in this pivotal moment, God's funding your grand exodus out of the lack that once defined your days, out of fear that gripped your nights, and straight into a land flowing generously with milk and honey. A place of promise where provision overflows and peace abounds. What's it like to be fully funded by God in every aspect of your existence? It's profound knowing that every need is met long before you even voice it in prayer. Matthew chapter 6 verse 8 assures, "Your Father knows what you need before you ask him." That job you're fervently praying for, it's already lined up in heavenly alignment, waiting for the perfect revelation. That healing you desperately need, it's already in motion, coursing through your body like a river of restoration. That dream you've held close to your heart for years, it's already funded with resources beyond your imagination, ready to manifest in divine timing. God's not merely reacting to your prayers with delayed responses. He's proactively funding your purpose, orchestrating circumstances, people, and opportunities with meticulous care, long before you see the first sign. Trust his timing implicitly, because it's flawless, woven into the fabric of eternity itself. Let's talk about your legacy again, but let's delve even deeper into its eternal significance. God's not just funding your present life with temporary blessings. He's funding your impact across generations, creating a ripple effect that will echo through time. Psalm chapter 112 verse 3 declares, "Wealth and riches are in their houses, and their righteousness endures forever." Your obedience today, even in the smallest acts of faith, is actively building wealth. Not just material, but spiritual depth that anchors souls, emotional richness that heals families. Financial stability that breaks cycles of poverty that will profoundly bless your children's children and beyond. You're not just living for the fleeting moments of now chasing immediate gratification. You're laying a solid, unbreakable foundation for forever. One that's securely funded by God's eternal, unbreakable promise that never fades or fails. You've been overlooked, underestimated, counted out, but God never overlooked you. He's been funding your rise from the start. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7 says, "The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Your heart caught his eye, and now he's funding your elevation. The world's about to see what God saw all along. A chosen one destined for greatness. What does it mean to stop worrying? It's not pretending life is perfect. It's knowing your provider is. Philippians chapter 4 verse 19 says, "My God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." Not some needs all, not according to your bank account, according to his glory. You're funded by a God who owns everything, and he's pouring out his riches on you. Now think about Lazarus, dead, wrapped in grave clothes. Done. But Jesus called him out, and life returned. John chapter 11 verse 44 says, "The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen." God's funding your resurrection. What's dead in your life, dreams, hope, opportunities, is coming back to life. He's calling you out of the grave, unwrapping your burdens, funding your comeback. You've been faithful in the shadows, doing the right thing when no one was watching. God's funding your spotlight. Luke chapter 8 verse 17 says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." Your faith, your perseverance, and your heart, they're about to shine. The world will see what God's been funding all along. Let's talk about provision. Not just money, but wisdom. God's funding your decisions, giving you clarity where there was confusion. James chapter 1 verse 5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." You're not stumbling anymore. You're making choices with divine insight, funded by the one who knows every outcome. You've been stretched, pulled in every direction by life's demands, but God's funding your strength. Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you." You're not breaking, you're expanding. Your capacity for love, for impact, for abundance is growing, and God's funding every inch of that growth. What's it like to live in God's funding? It's freedom from comparison. You're not looking at others' lives, wishing for their blessings. Your path is custom-made, funded by a God who knows you by name. Psalm chapter 139 verse 14 says, "I praise you because I am fearful and wonderfully made." You're not chasing someone else's story. You're living yours, fully funded, perfectly designed. Let's talk about the enemy one more time. He's tried to distract you, to make you doubt God's funding, but his time's up. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12 says, "Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the powers of this dark world." You fought those powers and you've won. God's funding your victory, turning every battle into a testimony of his power in you. You've been waiting for a sign, haven't you? This is it. God's funding your life, and the evidence is already showing. That vision, the one that keeps you up at night, the one that feels too big to hold. It's not a fantasy. It's a blueprint. God's funding it, turning what seemed impossible into your reality. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 says, "Write down the vision and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it." Your vision is clear now, and God's providing the resources, the people, the moments to make it run. You felt alone in your dreams, haven't you? Like no one else could see what you see. But God's been there, shaping every detail. He's funding your clarity, giving you eyes to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." You're not perishing, you're thriving. Your vision isn't just for you, it's for those God's called you to impact. He's funding the steps to bring it to life, one divine connection at a time. What happens when God funds your creativity? Ideas flow like a river. Solutions appear where problems once stood. That business plan, that book, that project you've shelved, God's breathing life into it. Acts chapter 1 verse 8 says, "You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you." That power isn't just spiritual, it's practical. It's the spark to create, to innovate, to build something that glorifies Him. Your creativity is funded, and it's about to change the game. You've been through seasons of silence where it felt like God wasn't speaking. But that silence wasn't absent. It was preparation. God was funding your listening, tuning your ears to His voice. John chapter 10 verse 27 says, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me." You're hearing Him now, aren't you? Clearer than ever. His guidance is funding your next steps, leading you to places you couldn't have planned. Let's talk about your resilience. The world tried to break you, but it only built you. Every trial, every rejection, every moment you thought you'd give up God was funding your strength. Romans chapter 5 verses 3-4 says, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." Your hope is funded now, unshakable, rooted in a God who turns pain into purpose. You've been generous even when you had little, giving your time, your love, your faith when it felt like you were running low. God saw that. He's funding your generosity, multiplying what you've sown. Luke chapter 6 verse 38 says, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap." It's not just calm, it's a fortress, a peace that holds steady when chaos rages. Philippians chapter 4 verse 7 says, "The peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Your heart is guarded now. Your mind is clear. Worry can't breach this fortress because God's funding its walls with His unshakable promise. You've been stretched thin balancing responsibilities, dreams, fears. But God's funding your balance. He's teaching you to walk steady, to carry what matters, and let go of what doesn't. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. You're not chasing anymore. God's funding a life of tranquility where you hold what's yours with ease. Let's talk about your influence. It's growing, isn't it? People are noticing something different about you, a light, a strength, a purpose. God's funding your impact, amplifying your voice to reach those who need it. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10 says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace." Your gifts are funded, ready to serve, ready to change lives. You faced betrayal, people who promised loyalty but walked away. That hurt, but it didn't define you. God's funding your healing, bringing people who honor you, who see your worth.